Alabama legislature votes to ban gender-affirming medical care for transgender youth. This is pretty fucked up. This happened yesterday. Alabama lawmakers approved sweeping legislation Thursday to outlaw gender-affirming medications for transgender kids and advanced a separate measure prohibiting early classroom instruction on sexual and gender identity, a bill critics have dubbed Don't Say Gay. So they're copying Florida's legislation, as well as banning health care for trans people under the age of 19. So if you're 18 years old, you are not an adult in the state of Alabama. You're a child in their world. So factor that in. The Alabama House of Representatives voted 66-28 for legislation to make it a felony, punishable by 10 years in prison, for a doctor to prescribe puberty blockers or hormones or perform surgery to aid in the gender transition of people under age 19. 19! Again, this is genocide. What they are doing is they're saying, if you are trans in Alabama, we want you to die, we will do everything we can to kill you, or we want you to leave the state. Either you die or you leave. That's it. Those are the only options. Now, again, we know that for trans people, healthcare is important. Just like for anyone else that needs healthcare. So imagine an alternate world where they were just banning, I don't know, like something like antidepressants. Like if you prescribe antidepressants to someone, you go to jail for 10 years. You're not allowed to be on antidepressants. What if you're not allowed to be on, like, I don't know, ADHD medication of some kind, right? You're just not allowed. You can't do it. And if you try, we'll throw you in fucking jail. But of course, that'll probably come in the next 5 to 10 years. But again, it needs to be understood that Republican states in this country are enacting a genocide of trans people. They're trying to commit a genocide of gay people as well, though it's a little bit less popular to, put forth, anti-gay legislation. They're really going with this parental rights bullshit garbage, and they're going to probably try to expand those kinds of things soon. Again, Tulsi Gabbard came out recently and said she wants to ban all mention of gay people in all public schools. 12th grade, you're not allowed to know that gay people exist. You're allowed to get married at 10 in Tennessee. 10 years old, let's get married. 18 years old, sorry. What, a gay what? What's that? The topic of transgender and LGBTQ identity has become one of the GOP's wedge issues aimed at securing votes because they are popular with the party's base. Again, we need to understand this country is built on fascism. Republicans are neo-Nazis. That's what they are. There is no if and They are neo-Nazis. Again, there are reports of LGBTQ establishments all across the country, like bars and so forth, the classic gay bar, right? All across the country, New York, North Carolina, Florida, being targeted, arson attempts, lots of assaults happening at these places. There have been videos documented of right-wing psychopaths going around trying to, beat the shit out of random trans people in states like California, Oregon, and Washington. I've heard a lot of things over there. Again, this is a major issue. Pogroms are already here. They have started. Legislation is already here to try to literally ban healthcare for trans people. You are not allowed to go to the doctor. And if a doctor wants to help you, they will go to jail for 10 years. Isn't that fucking crazy? Isn't that fucking crazy? This is crazy. And what do Democrats do? The party in power federally, what are they doing? They don't give a fuck. They don't care. They don't give a shit about pogroms. They don't give a shit about genocide. They don't give a shit about banning healthcare for people. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. In fact, a lot of them probably agree. This is wrong. All right, Rep. Neil Rafferty, the only openly gay member of the Alabama legislature, appeared to struggle to hold back anger and maintain composure as lawmakers headed to the vote. This is wrong. Y'all sit there and campaign on family being the foundation of our nation, but what this bill is doing is totally undermining that. It's totally undermining family rights, health rights, and access to health care. Republican Representative Wes Allen of Troy, sponsor of the House version of the bill, argued during debate Thursday morning that transgender youth are not old enough to make decisions about gender-affirming medicine. What? But you're allowed to be prescribed antidepressants if you're 9 years old. You're allowed to be prescribed Ritalin or Adderall when you're fucking 12. Now, again, also, Intersex people need access to hormone therapy. So, what are we going to do? Again, it's not only are trans and gay people the victims of this legislation, but the way the legislation is worded is it can produce all other kinds of accidental victims. And again, we also know that this trans panic going on in this country is resulting in cisgender women being discriminated against. There are many, 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 many reports of cisgender women being assaulted because they quote-unquote look trans. There are videos that have circulated online over the last year or so, many times, of cisgender women being assaulted, being called slurs, and they're not even trans. That might be the first time they've ever even experienced anything like that at all. They might not follow trans issues. It's just because we have an openly fascist party that is endorsing and embracing fascism, telling its supporters to go on pogroms. And now, again, does that mean, oh, well, it's not a problem if the trans people get assaulted, but once the... No, that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, again, there are more... This is not just going to hurt trans people. This hurts all people. A lot of these anti-trans sports bills, you might not know this. What's in the bills? Mandatory genital checks for children. This is the party of family values. Mandating that the big sweaty gym teacher needs to rub the junks of every child? Well, it's the law. We got to make sure. Yeah, that's right. Let me touch you all over. It's the law. We're here to protect you. Big Daddy government's here to protect you. That's what they're doing. There is no way to enforce an anti-trans sports ban without mandatory genital checks. And that's why every single one of these bills has mandatory genital checks. So imagine, again, in the state like Utah, where there's one trans girl athlete that would be affected by this bill in Utah. Yet, every athlete now has to get all of their shit rubbed by the sweaty gym teacher. Just because there's one trans person in the whole state that wants to play sports. This is fascism. And again, what are the Democrats doing? What is Joe Biden doing? Joe Biden on Transgender Day of Visibility last week, he was like, we're going to help the trans people. And that's it. Is anything happening? No. Is he going to do anything at all to provide resources for trans people to move out of these states? No. Rep. Chris England, who serves as chairman of the Alabama Democratic Party, said the measure targets already vulnerable children and essentially tells them they are not welcome in Alabama. You're saying this is about children. It's not. What it's about is scoring political points and using those children as collateral damage. The bill would also require school counselors, nurses, and others tell parents if a child discloses they believe they are transgender. So let's say you're in school, it's lunchtime, you're talking to your best friend about how, you're trans and your parents are really Christian and they would throw you out and they would kill you if they ever found out. And let's say one of the teachers who's just over there in the lunch period just listening, eavesdropping, then immediately goes, all right, well, we got to call your teacher or call your parents, and they call your parents, and then the parents come and get the kid, and then the kid gets beaten to fucking death. These are things that happen. There are stories of parents throwing children out for being gay or trans that results in them being killed later on, right? Being beaten by their parents for being gay or trans, and this is enabling that. Now again, even further, we know that people that are discriminated against in society have mental health problems such as depression and anxiety. Again, if your government is telling you that they want you to die, that might cause a little bit of depression and anxiety. If the government is passing legislation saying we want to kill you and everyone like you, that might make someone want to maybe, harm themselves. Spokeswoman, I don't know who, that's the governor. I want the governor to know that she doesn't have to sign this. She can veto it. Jeff Walker, whose 15-year-old daughter, Harley, is transgender, said Thursday afternoon, all you're doing is hurting Alabama families with these bills. Arkansas approved a similar law in 2021, but it was put on hold by the courts. Advocacy groups in Alabama have vowed to quickly challenge it if IV signs it into law. Anyway, you can read the rest of this if you want, but this is a genocide. What they're trying to do, again, is the same thing that the Nazis did in the 1920s and 30s. Is they're trying to create pariah groups for political points, create pariah groups to, again, Republicans they don't care about making sure you have clean water. They don't care about making sure you have access to food and jobs. They don't care about making sure you can afford your mortgage. They want to make it so that you're poor and homeless too. But what they're doing is they're distracting you from that they want to kill you, that all of their policies are designed to kill everybody, right? But what they're going to do is they're going to laser focus on one minority group, convince you that group, the trannies, yeah, that's why I can't pay my mortgage, because of the trannies. So that they don't have to face the consequences of their anti-poor legislation. They're going to weaponize identity. This is identity politics. They are weaponizing identity to get poor people to want to kill each other. Except actually, it's just one group that wants to kill the other group, and the other group saying, please stop hitting me. Now again, what did we do, we being humanity, with fascists in the 1940s? Someone remind me. I would love to know. Because in my opinion, this might be the only way to handle it once again in the 21st century. So it's unbelievable. It's disgusting. And again, where's Nancy Pelosi? Where's Chuck Schumer? Where's Joe Biden? Where's Steny Hoyer? Where's Democratic leadership? The federal government, which they have apparently have power in. Last time I checked. Joe Biden makes one remark on like a trans-related holiday, and that's it? That's it?